Construction and building material, is it important for preschoolers? Can they learn something out of it or not? That is the big question that I get asked a lot. My name is Marion. I'm an educationalist and the founder of TLI Pedagogics. And since more than 20 years, I'm in the field of education. And at the present moment, my biggest target is to help parents and educators to help their children around them to manifest their full potential. So what is building and construction material for? There are many reasons why building and construction material is very good to be around boys and girls in the age of the preschool time before they go into primary school. Because in this time also, especially from 3.5 onwards, the children are a lot developing their mind and the structure of understanding lengths and measurements. So the building and construction material is a lot about understanding mathematical concepts. It's about squares, it's about triangles, it's about different shapes in general. It's about building something into the lengths, into the heights. It's about measure of squares, it's about measure of lengths. So all of this is there. And this is why construction material is a playful way to understand mathematical concepts. And this is something both girls and boys need to understand. And it's way easier for those children who played a lot with this kind of material to also later understand them and use them in their life. So besides this mathematical understanding that comes into life, there's a second part. And the second part that is activated a lot is the fantasy. The big questions are, when I start building something, when I start constructing something, what will be the outcome? And when you have a certain outcome, the second question is, what else can I do with it? And so then everything starts, because this construction or the building with the blocks can become a thing for many different fantasy stories. It can become a castle, it can become a zoo, it can become a garage, and then more and more details are added. So if it's a garage, maybe you need a street where the cars can drive into the garage, and maybe there are other buildings around. So it's kind of going into a thinking that creates connections between different things. If it's a castle, then you might need a forest, and you might need horses, and you might need a horse stable. Other concepts come in, and this is why it's really very good for activating the creativity and fantasy. We should also not underestimate the power of language skills that are developed during construction, especially when you interact with the child and you speak with the child and ask the child, what are you doing? What are you building? The child starts to explain. And whenever they tell a story around, the language skills will naturally and without any big input will really start develop in the child. So it makes sense to give children building materials and construction materials. And I'd like to introduce one material that at the present moment I feel is really loved by children, starting at the age of 3.5 to 4. And I'd like to introduce this construction material to you because it's easily available all over the world and it really makes a lot of sense. So let us go to the material itself. Okay, so the material I'd like to introduce to you today, it's called the Flying Start, the Magna blocks. So you can get them almost everywhere in the world. And this material can do a lot of things. And so I will put a link down there where you can buy this, also easily available for you. Just click on the link. But now let's see what these Magna blocks can do, what are so great and amazing things. So let's go there. Let's see about the quality of this material. On one hand, it's a high quality ABS plastic. It means that it's non-toxic and safe. So there is good plastic and not good plastic, we say in education, because some of the plastic materials are really good because the quality is good and there's nothing toxic to it and they are safe to use. Then also what we have, it has really round edges. You can see that there are always round edges, the design, so it's really protecting children also from getting hurt, and it's easy to be handled in smaller hands and to work with them. And then also it has an ultrasonic welding, strong and durable part, And you can see that it really sticks to it, so it's magnetic. So this magnetic effect makes it stick together and makes it very easy to build, but also it helps the children to understand the concept that sometimes in these magnetic things, not everything attracts each other. Some are even in such a way not sticking together because the magnet is not the right one. So there's a second learning effect into that. As we can see in the next picture, it can be used for very simple things. So that is one of the very simple shapes that almost every child, when beginning using these blocks, can immediately do. And so when this is started, you can see that they are going into measure of lengths, measure of squares. They are creating out of a triangle a pyramid kind thing. So they are starting to understand what they need, for example, a triangle and a square, to build such a roof kind thing. In a later period, the children become more interested in more complex things. Now you can see that they put many parts together. On the bottom, they use the square ones to make the bottom of the house. And then they used square and triangle ones to create the roof. And you can say that in all of this coming together and building, there is a kind of a science of architecture already included. And so this is also why it's really great to have and to use. So these magna blocks are really fun for children, and we can see the children constantly playing with it in our preschool. So I really find it very useful as a material to understand mathematics and shapes. When children become a little bit more experienced, they also start creating really shapes that are more complex. Like here, a ball was made out of these magna blocks, and you can see that the usage of square and triangle now has to be understood really to a higher degree. This normally is built by a 4-year-old child. After a while, when they really use the material, after a while, they are able to really understand that and do that. So by putting them together, it really helps a lot. The more children start handling this material, the more the fantasy comes in. See, here the child built a scale, you can say. So it is a right and a left. So they put different parts together, and it's really amazing how creative this child was in putting them, and how well balanced the right and the left side is, and how well the child already understood that the length needs to be the same on both sides of the scale, the weight needs to be the same, all of that. So this child doing this was between 5 to 6 years old. That is something they can easily do when they understand the concepts behind. So from there, children can go in more complex things. So it starts with the more simple ones, like the ball, and then the shapes can change. And now the fantasy of the children is really important. Like if it's a helicopter, the child has to know exactly how a helicopter looks, and then think about how to do that. So all of these creative shapes, like a motorcycle, are coming out of understanding how shapes can be put together to create an object. So that's a lot of great learning for the children to understand the material in a way better way. So now that you understand the material, you know also how they can handle it. It is highly recommended to put kind of construction and building material around the children from early age. When the children are younger, between 2 and 3 years, they are more interested in the building blocks. But when they grow older, they want to do more complex things. So this magna blocks start about the age of 3.5. It's very much depending on the child, and I would like to ask you not to think about age appropriate. Think about developmental sensitive, which is our approach in TLI pedagogics. It really makes a difference when you address your child according to what your child is interested in and what your child at the present moment is already able to do. In my recommendation, I just want to repeat one more time that this kind of construction material is not just for boys, it is also for girls. Sometimes in our minds, we think that boys are more for construction and girls are more for that. This is really important that we give girls the same chances like boys. So repeatedly, I'd like to say that it is really great to understand mathematical concepts, but it's also great for learning language skill, developing more creativity and fantasy, what you can do. And if children play together, then also, of course, the social skills are developed, but not always children are playing together. So that is sometimes happening, sometimes not. So this is some of the great points that can come out when you hand your child some kind of construction building material. Again, I tell you that I will put the link down there where you can get this material easily and just order it on Amazon. But I also would like to ask you to share this with other people who might be interested, and to please click the notification bell so that you get reminded whenever we put something out. And more of these videos will be coming now very frequently, because we really want to also give you some material, especially in this time, what you can use. Don't forget to subscribe and to like this video. That helps us with the algorithm of YouTube to be seen by people who really need this information. I wish you a good day, and I'm looking very much forward to see you again next video, when we speak about different play materials for preschoolers, how to use, what to use, and what makes sense. Have a good time. Please subscribe. See you soon.